Hello guys, my name is Total Warzone, welcome to another video. Of course, yesterday the new Black Sea DLC released, including Pergamon. And in this video I will give you a short review on Pergamon in multiplayer battles, where I will explain you how effective they are in my opinion. And I will also give you some tactics and some strategies to use them in a correct way, because they can be pretty powerful. I will spoil that in advance. In the background you're watching some Pergamon clips as well. One of them is from a battle against Colchis. So, without further ado, let's take a look. So, Pergamon is, of course, a Greek faction on the coast of Asia. And it has a hybrid faction between Galatia and Greek. Mostly Greek though, they only have a couple of Galatian units. For the generals, not that much. We will get into that units later. This is the main lack of Pergamon is in the melee infantry department. They only have access to Galatian swords, which is a cheap but decent unit. It's good for flanking because it has a good charge bonus, decent stats. It will just pack a punch, but it's not that steady in a mainline engagement. So they really lack some heavy core infantry. Then of course, as all Greek factions, they have a little bit more tools in the spear infantry section. I think when you play Pergamon, you mostly need to base your army on those spears. So first of all, of course, they have militia hoplites, which is actually a surprisingly decent unit for its price. They also have Galatian spears, and Galatian spears are, almost the same as militia hoplites, but they have a bit better stats, and they have just decent defense stats, and they have counter cavalry tactics. And that's really important because there are really almost no Greek factions with this ability, so this can be a really good anti-cav unit. So I really like the addition of the Galatian spears in this roster. Then of course they have access to Tyrial spears, which are really powerful in this patch, and normal hoplite, as we've seen them before. And now the last spear infantry unit is, in my opinion, the best unit of the entire Pergamese faction, the Agema spears. Agema spears are basically a Tyrial spears unit, but with better stats in melee and some cool abilities. So I almost see this as a cross between a normal hoplite and a peltas unit. So basically when you get a Tyrial spears, its missile attack is good, but it lacks in melee. It will get defeated by a lot of other units. This unit though, the Agema spears, can also win in melee against most units. So I really like these guys. And the best thing about them is that they also have encourage, so they give morale bonuses to the army which is nearby. And they also have expert charge defense. And expert charge defense is an excellent perk, but because most of the time it will kill charging enemies instantly on the charge. Especially low tier units and low tier cavalry will just get owned on the charge basically because of this ability. This is a really cost effective unit, costing only 840 talents. Then they also fuel 2 regular pikes, of course. For the missile infantry department, the special unit they have here is of course the picked peltas. I got to try these guys out in battle as well, and these guys are excellent. This is a hybrid unit between a sword and a missile unit. I also managed to get over 200 kills in melee against spear units in one battle. And really, when I played a game against, I think there was Warrior Sparta as well, I charged picked peltas with citizen cav. And the picked peltas actually won that against with a melee. Really good skirmisher unit. Now for shock cav they have Hippias lancers of course, which is a decent. It got buffed by a little bit. And they have Pergamonese noble cav. I have to tell you, I don't advise you to use the Pergamese over the Hippias lancers. I didn't even find it that effective. Its charge bonus is a bit better, but it lacks armor compared to the Hippias lancers, so it's a little bit more risky to use. It's still very effective though. And for melee, they really suck. Citizens are decent. I tried light horse, but I don't recommend them as well. They're just not steady enough. So if we look at this roster, first of all, it's a decent roster, almost the same as like Athens, something like that. When I play as Pergamon, and I advise you to do the same, I always go with a hoplite core. Well, you can depend what, but my most recommended part is just bring like 6 regular hoplites, put them in front of your lines, put them in hoplite wall if you want eventually, so you have just a steady main line of infantry. Then behind them, you can put your Ajima spears. I will always recommend putting Ajima spears in the battle. You can use them as skirmisher units and as infantry units later on. And that is because Pergamon lacks long-range skirmishers. So there's no point in bringing those cheap archers really when you can also bring Ajima spears with good armor. So I would recommend that guys as well. And picked pelters are good as well. So a combination between Ajima spears and picked pelters as support units is pretty good. Then the Galatian spears are recommended as well as a cav force. And speaking about cavalry, when you are trying to make a decent cavalry force of Pergamon, I always advise you to bring shock cav in this case. Either Hippias Lancers or Pergamonese Noble Cav. That's the way to go for Pergamon really. So that's what I advise you to do. So if you bring such an army and maybe some Galatian swordsmen as flanking units as well, I actually think Pergamon is one of the best Greek factions in the game. Well, not the successor factions, but the normal Greek factions. I think Pergamon is the best faction in this DLC as well. If you bring a steady core with a lot of infantry, and because they have excellent support units and good cavalry, you don't need that long range skirmishers, or you don't need like Torx swordsmen or other high melee infantry units. So I would always try to go with a spear core with the good support units that Pergamon can field, and then I think this is a really good faction, comparable with factions like, well, it's a little bit worse than Carthage probably, because it's a little bit one-sided, but when you use it correctly, they're really, really good. I really advise you to try out the Ajima spears and the picked pelters. I really like this faction. So hopefully you enjoyed this little update on Pergamon, and I hope that I'll see you guys in the next one, where I will probably discuss Colchis. So see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.